Welcome back to Fhtv Plus. Silly season is here. I am talking about transfer season. It's here, everybody. It's what we look forward to. Whenever the transfer window's shut, we all say, we need a new striker. We need a new midfielder. We need this, we need that. Well, that can now happen. And today and every day for the rest of the summer, we're going to be looking at all of the rumours across the transfer market. Now, some of them will transfer from actual rumours into eventualities and done deals. And one of the players we're going to talk about today is exactly that. So the three players I wanted to talk about today are Liam Delap, Mark Guehi, and Morgan Gibbs-White. Now, this is good for a YouTuber. Sometimes you think, I'm going to talk about this person. And then that day you get news that they're signing for somebody. So let's start with that person. Liam Delap of Ipswich. Now, sold by Manchester City. He'd scored one Premier League goal for them and now having his first full season in the Premier League, where he's got 12 goals in 37 appearances. Now, most people will say, is 12 in 37 very good? Well, it's a relegated Ipswich team that won 4 Premier League games. So I'm not sure what else people would expect. But he has impressed. His dynamic nature, his power, his strength, his bulldozing. He's scored some very good goals. He's given some defences a really torrid time. And we heard that he'd had talks with Everton, possibly with Newcastle. We heard that Nottingham Forest wanted him. Tottenham wanted him. Man United, we know he's had talks with. But today, in the last couple of hours, it has been revealed by Ornstein that he will be joining Chelsea. The Conference League winners, Chelsea. Now, as a football fan, I think sometimes you have to look and say, is a player a good player? Versus, is he a good player for the team he's joining? So, Chelsea fans, football fans, I'll ask you this. Is Liam Delap Chelsea calibre? Do you look at Liam Delap and go, that's the guy that's going to take Chelsea from 4th to challenging the likes of Liverpool, Arsenal and City over the last few years into a title race? Now, I like Liam Delap. I think he's got a lot of good attributes. But I am a fan that's always wary of overpraising players who have had one good year. Spurs, my team, signed Dominic Solanke off of one good Premier League season, and I kind of knew what I was getting. I thought I'd be disappointed, and I have been disappointed, but that's a different debate. So Chelsea fans, football fans, will Delap go straight to Chelsea and be the main man? Will he go straight in above Nicholas Jackson and be the #1 striker in Premier League and Champions League football next year? Or do Chelsea need to find another striker and then have Jackson, Delap and a more senior pro? If so, who would that be? There's been talks this morning that maybe Chelsea are trying to hijack the Gyökeres deal from Arsenal. It's all getting fun, isn't it? Now, I'm not an ITK. I get my information from the same places that all of you do. But I love this. I love this time of the year. As a Spurs fan, it's frustrating, but I love seeing it in general. So let me know your thoughts. Liam Delap to Chelsea. We know it's on. We know it's happening. We know he's going to be fed by Cole Palmer. But is it a good transfer? Is that a better transfer for Ipswich, who are going to get £30 million? Or is it a £30 million bargain that's better for Chelsea? Let me know your thoughts. And in the chat, let me know, how many goals do you think Delap will get in all competitions next season? I'm going to go with 16, 17. Anyway, moving on, the next player we're going to talk about is another player who is in high demand. This guy's stock has risen massively in the last 2 to 3 years. And of course, I'm talking about Crystal Palace centre-back Mark Guehi, who has positioned himself, if we're going to be honest, as England's first choice centre-back. It used to be John Stones, who's always injured and unreliable. Great player, but unreliable. And Mark Guehi seems to never miss games. He's formed a very good partnership with Lacroix, with Chris Richards. It's a very good defence that they've got going there. And it's very well drilled at Crystal Palace. Now, We had heard a couple of days ago that the likes of Newcastle are looking at Guehi, and I still believe that to be true. I've heard that Tottenham might be looking at Guehi should Christian Romero move to Atletico Madrid, because we know that they want him. Whether or not they'll pay for him, I don't know. So he's on Tottenham's radar, Newcastle's radar. I'm sure he's probably on the radar of the Liverpools and the Cities and the Villas and the Uniteds, because he's a good centre-half. Now, some people think he's overrated. Some people think he's underrated. I just think he's a solid, seasoned pro. And I think every team needs one of these. Not always the sexiest name. Not going to sell you millions of shirts. But for me, I think Marc Guehi will be an asset for any team he joins. But now, let's get to the point. What I am hearing today is that Bayern Munich have been in talks with Marc Guehi. Now, we know there's a relationship between Bayern Munich and Crystal Palace. Obviously, Elise going there last year. Chris Richards, the year before, went from Bayern Munich to Crystal Palace. So we know, don't we, that there is a relationship there. There is synergy. Now, we also know that Bayern Munich have just signed Jonathan Tah on a free transfer after he left Bayer Leverkusen. A very good centre-half. And a good signing for me. Now, imagine they have Tah and Guehi. For me, again, a very good central defensive pairing. So will that happen? Maybe it's just talks. Maybe he does end up at a Newcastle. Maybe he does end up at a Tottenham Hotspur. Who knows? But that's definitely one to keep an eye on. Marc Guehi, with 1 year left on his contract, I'm sure Palace will have to sell this summer or risk losing him on a free. So let me know, where do you think that Marc Guehi should end up? Where do you think that Marc Guehi will be playing football next season? Maybe he stays at Palace for the Europa League and they let him go on a free. I can't imagine that to be true. Let me know what you think. What I do know in Palace's favour is Crystal Palace always have a good scouting system. They found Lacroix, they found Munoz, they found Richards, didn't they? They find these players, Adam Wharton, Sarr, right? They find these players, Mateta. They just seem to find these good players. So let me know what you think about Guehi. And now the last player I want to talk about today is Nottingham Forest's Morgan Gibbs-White, who's had a good season. Depending on which Forest fan you talk to, some think he is the best thing since sliced bread. Others say he is massively overrated. What do you think of Morgan Gibbs-White? He was nominated for Player of the Year. He's in the pool of 8 candidates to win it. So clearly he must have done something right. And because of that, he has suitors across the Premier League and probably further afield. So let's look at this. I know that my club have been linked with him, Tottenham. I know that we've been linked with him for a few years. Could Tottenham, now we've got Champions League, go in and look at a player like Morgan Gibbs-White? Fits in with how Spurs want to buy. We want to buy English players. We don't want to buy them too old. So does he fit in with Tottenham? Man City were very much rumoured to be in for Morgan Gibbs-White. We know that Fabrizio Romano said that he's on their list of players in that number 10 position. But we also know that this morning, Man City opened talks with Rayan Cherki of Lyon, who will be a lot cheaper than Morgan Gibbs-White because there's no English tax. Rayan Cherki, a very, very good footballer. Lots of talk about his attitude. I don't know the guy. But where better to get a good football grounding than going to play with Pep Guardiola as he rebuilds Man City? So could Gibbs-White still end up at City? Well, why not? They're building. Could he end up at Spurs? Sure, why not? Could he be wanted by Man United, Chelsea? Sure. Does he stay at Nottingham Forest? As a Nottingham Forest fan, do you want him to stay? If not, if he was to be sold, what sort of price are you putting on Morgan Gibbs-White's head? 30? 50? 70? You guys let me know. I think it's going to be a very interesting summer. I'm very much looking forward to doing more of these videos every day. I will do main videos when there is actually a player sale. We'll focus just on one player and their stats and all their details. But this, for me, is going to be a very interesting summer. I think we're going to see all sorts of transfer records broken for the amount of money spent across the Premier League. And there's a lot of clubs that need to grow and build. City need to get back up there. Arsenal need some top players to compete. Liverpool are going absolutely mad in the transfer market. Chelsea always do. Newcastle going to flex their muscles. Tottenham have just finished 17th. We need to up our levels if we're going to compete in the Champions League next season. Aston Villa, what do they do? Yada, yada, yada. Let me know your thoughts on those players. Take care. If you haven't, then please do go below, smash the like button. Please subscribe as well. Here, you're going to have all transfer videos, analysis, and watch-alongs. So please, subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.